Dan Stevens. I play the writer Charles Condamine in the movie Blithe Spirit, starring Isla Fisher.
I'm Isla Fisher. I play Ruth Condamine in the film Blithe Spirit along with Dan Stevens.
Blithe Spirit was based on a Noel Coward play written in the 30s, and it's about...
A love triangle.
Yes.
Charles is married to two women, one of whom passes on and comes back to haunt him.
Conjured back to life by
Madam Acarti.
Madam Acarti, played by Judi Dench.
Dame Judi Dench.
Thank you. And yes, Charles doesn't really believe in all that sort of stuff. Doesn't believe in horoscopes, none of that. Just wants some inspiration for a new thing that he's writing, an adaptation of a book that he'd written.
Yes.
And so they invite Madam Acarti round to their house.
And unfortunately for them, they conjures up the spirit of the ex-wife, who
First wife.
is very playful and mischievous and a blithe spirit.
And very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Played by the lovely Leslie Mann.
Mann.
No, it's been great. It's been lovely. We've had a marvellous time.
It's hard on the eyes. When you don't want to look at him, obviously it's disgusting, but other than that...
Well, fortunately, I'm quite a lot taller than Isla, so when I look out, I don't really see her. And the camera sees her fine, and that's all that we need, really. What drew you to this project, Isla Fisher?
I'm a Noel Coward fan. I love the language, I love the period, I thought the costumes, I loved meeting the director, I loved his take on it. And I really wanted to work with Judi Dench and Dan, and it was just perfect timing with the school holidays and...
No, fair enough. Yeah, I sort of started out doing Noel Coward in theatre. That was one of my first jobs, was doing Hay Fever, actually, with Dame Judi.
Wow,
And
wow.
so it's lovely to get to work with her again. And yeah, it's just really nice to bring a slightly kind of fresh, silly take on a sort of classic British comedy.
I mean, amazing. We were all in a little box right now. We're shooting a scene where she's on stage, and we're all discussing how grateful and just incredible it is to see her working right in front of us.
She looks fabulous.
Yes, she does. She really does. She's beautiful and brilliant and hilarious in this role, and I think fans will be so excited to see her. She's never really done, that I'm aware of, at least a broad comedy. And I think this is going to be just such a revelation. People are going to love to see her be as brilliant as she is, but also be so funny.
And it's amazing, she's never played this role on stage.
Right.
No one had ever asked her to play it, so she was quite excited to tick this one off, I think.
I just think she really wanted to work with me. She's a big fan of Home and Away, and this was just her chance. And she grasped it. She loved Tag. And my work, of course, in Scooby-Doo and many other, hit movies, a lot of them animated. Our characters are perhaps at a crossroads of sorts. He's definitely not as prolific as he was when I married him, and I'm concerned about his mental health.
But they do love each other.
They do love each other.
Well, they invite Madam Acarti round after the grand failure of her show at the Richmond Theatre, because Charles sees an opportunity for some inspiration for the story he's writing, wants to get some ideas, get a bit of background research on the idea of a medium character in one of his stories, and so they invite her around slightly to make fun of her, but they, they sort of try and hold it together.
The joke is on us because we do conjure up this spirit, and she's
of
sort
my
of
first wife. Charles is delighted to have the opportunity to research this character, and he sees it as very fertile ground for this creative block he's had, and he's going to introduce the character of a medium in this detective story, and it's going to be great. And yes, the flip side is that Madam Acarti,
it's a love triangle,
conjures the ghost of my first wife, and suddenly the two of them are in the room at the same time, as far as Charles is concerned, and that's very confusing.
And Charles is unfaithful, or is that just spoiler? Maybe cut that out.
Well,
I think it's so fun. I mean, I've only done one other period piece before too, and I've just really enjoyed it. As you can see, you get to wear a wig, and and also just to speak and to research that time period and how women, how they reserved their emotionally, how they conducted their lives, and it just creating the mannerisms and the walk and the talk of someone from that era is really fun.
Very nice to bring something of a sort of modern comedic tone to a classic British comedy, and to work with very funny people on a Noel Coward piece, which, you know, Noel Coward is, it can be quite tricky. It's very wordy, but it's also very funny, and it's nice to have a very funny cast. We've got obviously Isla Fisher, Mann, Judi Dench, Julian Rhind-Tutt, Amelia Fox, all very funny people. I love his name.
I don't just love how you said.
Tutt. It's a funny name, but he's a funny man. Dr. Bradman, who is my doctor and confidant, and yeah, he's sort of trying in his best way to help me out of my situation, mostly with pills, but...
And I think there's been so many adaptations of this specific material that what we're trying to do is give it a kind of, you know, a little, it's not broader per se, but we're definitely, we're doing some physical comedy as well as obviously the wonderful witty words.
And it's very colourful, and the first film adaptation of this, 1947, I'm going to say, someone can just... 45.
That was the first common film.
1945. Some people didn't see it until 1947 because they didn't get a ticket. But it was shot in Technicolor in the early days of Technicolor, and it was very, for audiences back then, a very kind of bright, vibrant, poppy thing to go and watch. And hopefully ours is just as colourful.
Yes.
Working with Nick and Meg, obviously, who put out Fisherman's Friends earlier this year, and I think people just flocked to such a kind of feel-good, silly, heartfelt film, and I think there's a lot of heart in this, a lot of silliness, and yeah, hopefully people will enjoy that for similar reasons.
Yeah, not quite as many. It's nice to see movies without explosions, and this is an adult film for adults, which is refreshing as well. And it makes one yearn for more innocent times, to be honest. You know, the types of relationship that, you know, that are explored in this movie. Everything's sort of reserved, and people express their feelings through words, which is lovely, instead of emoticons, you know. There's only so much a dancing senorita emoticon can express. One does need a vocabulary, and the wider one's vocabulary is, the more you're able to communicate clearly and express yourself. So it's lovely to be in a world where we're all using language in a very specific way, and the correct language in the correct way, and it's wonderful.
They think very quickly as well. They speak almost before thinking. They're all fairly narcissistic, and that's quite fun to play.
With the accent, I'm having, I'm doing my best. I'm listening to my dialect in the morning, and I work with a coach, and I'm just hoping it sounds good.
Have I experienced poltergeist? No, have you?
No, I don't really think I have. I mean, possibly I've wondered whether a door's shut. Actually, when we were shooting, can I say?
Go on.
The generator went off on set,
poltergeist.
and we thought that potentially. And then in the middle of a scene, I was pouring Charles I was actually getting some water ready for him in a scene, and the door behind me opened very ominously and slowly, like perhaps it was being pushed by...
Poltergeist.
Right.
And the camera broke down that day?
The camera broke down that
Poltergeist.
day.
But no, I've never seen one. Yet.
I've seen them in films. Fictional.
You've seen the movie Poltergeist?
Yeah, I've seen Poltergeist
I've
and
seen the
Ghostbusters,
movie
so I'm aware that they look white and they go, ooh.
Or green, they can be little green.
On Halloween, sometimes you'll catch them.